Do we need to talk about it?
That's what this is for.
Little known fact, this is also a therapy hour. This is my therapy podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of This Is My Bourbon podcast, where we talk about the spirit of Kentucky. My name's Perry. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. And we got Chad and Sara back.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up?
I feel like it's turned into like the Perry and Chad and the Sara show over the past few days because we hung out at Liquor Barn. Mm-hmm. I came over after
brought
the
delicious cheeses and pretzels.
And
William
Weller.
Yeah, the most important part, other than the food, which
she was just thinking about the food.
Oh, the food is
I'm only
amazing.
here for
yes.
food.
Yeah.
And then now I'm here recording this episode too with you guys, which came about as part of a schedule change on my end. But thank you guys for being flexible. Mm-hmm. I'm a little stressed, so this is going to be high adrenaline.
I think that
episode.
this is literally de-stress juice.
This is exactly what I needed this week.
This is what you need.
Yeah.
It'll just mellow you out a little bit.
Oh, I'm so excited about this.
And then a little bit more.
So we're going to change things up just a little bit. We're actually going to do a review up top that will lead into, I know, we're flipping the genre on its head, aren't we?
Flipping the script.
So our episode today is going to be about gimmicky bourbons. And this conversation kind of came about because of the release of what we're about to review, which is Wild Turkey Long Branch. And I put up a poll on Instagram, thanks, Chad, the day that it was announced, that was like brilliant or bust. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. Everybody was pretty split.
Yeah,
on it.
I've heard people be split.
Yeah,
so
it was
far.
like 55-45 in favor of bust. So you guys have done an uncorking of this. I have not tasted this yet. This is a true first shot review. Yay!
Yeah, it's a hefty cork.
Usually with big corks, though, you don't get a good pop. It's usually just kind of a thud.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm still excited about this, despite a lot of people going meh. But as we're getting into everything, I've got to ask you guys what you've been drinking recently.
We've had a lot of stuff. I've been drinking recently.
I feel like we've been drinking a lot of stuff recently.
Yeah, I've been still drinking a lot of Knob Creek Rye. I'm really into that right now. You've been drinking a lot of the Old Fitz Bottled and Bond.
Yeah, I've been working on a handle. It's just kind of been my go-to, when I'm not really craving anything specific, just something solid to sip on. Yeah, Old Fitz Bottled and Bond. That's
been me with Weller Special. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just going to switch with you. I have kind of a little less.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thanks. I'm smaller. That's perfect. Thank you. See, if I drink all these with them, it'll just be the Sara Goes Wild show.
Or no, and then the Sara Goes to Sleep show.
And then, and then Sara gets hungry and cranky and then goes to sleep. That's the show.
And then Sara orders jets.
There's 3 acts. The Sara gets drunk, Sara gets hungry, and then Sara gets sleepy and goes to bed. Those are the 3 acts in that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen that show before.
Yes. As have I. Sometimes after a podcast.
There's also some anger in that hunger. Sometimes it's a hanger segment, but whatever.
That's what we call Sara with an H, right?
Yeah, Sara with an H. That's her name.
That's how my sister spells Sara.
Well, she's the drunken evil one. We don't really talk. We don't see each other.
Not your sister,
I know,
Sara
but
with an H.
Oh, sorry, not your sister. Me, the other me.
Yeah.
I don't know about your sister. She could be the drunken evil one.
She's a wonderful, sweet girl. What I've been drinking recently, like we said the other day, we were drinking the William LaRue Weller, which was just
delicious and delightful.
Yeah.
I just don't have enough good
Right?
I don't have enough words to describe.
It's like the epitome of what
much I love it.
amazing bourbon should taste like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, just regular old Weller Special Reserve. As I'm wrapping up my senior project of rebranding Wild Turkey, I'm getting kind of sick of Wild Turkey, so because I've just been looking at it all the time. But
So here's some more Wild Turkey.
yes, oh boy,
But it's completely
Different.
not to
yes.
influence anything, but it's very different.
the nose is really kind of citrusy.
Yeah, so we uncorked this on our show
Yeah.
recently, and I remember thinking the nose smells really interesting and good. Like I said, citrusy and kind of smoky, but not really
Lightly smoky.
Yeah. And some oak,
I don't mind the nose,
some toastiness.
but yeah,
Then I remember thinking, this nose is actually really good. I had a different experience on the palate, but we shall see if it's still the same case.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's find out because I really am curious to
Okay.
see where this
There we go.
lands.
No, we're scoring, right?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the finish.
Yeah, it goes just weird. It's like,
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I think the finish is more of its redeeming quality. The palate, to me, like, I don't know, I guess the palate, most of the time, there's no way to hide the fact. Well, I don't want to say no way, but a lot of times there's no way to hide the proof. And this being 86 proof, I think it definitely tastes 86 proof. Now, there are some bourbons, like we just had one recently that was 90.8 proof that we thought tasted 100. And there's others, less desirable bourbons that can be like 85. They're like, oh, this tastes like it should be 105.
Yeah.
But I guess, so main takeaway is this one definitely tastes 86 proof. And it's not hiding that on the palate. But I think the finish, if you let it stay there long enough, you're like, I could kind of see where this tastes like something else after it stays on your tongue for a while. So that's where I'm at.
I think it kind of starts off with more of its interesting and unique flavors,
That's
and then
kinda
it
how I
almost
feel,
kind of
too.
dies.
Yeah.
Like, it sort of fizzles out, and then just, for me, I get like a weird aftertaste hanging around.
The weird aftertaste for me is what's going to knock the finish down. I know I'm stumbling over words, but
There's a turning point in it.
there is, and I'm trying to process exactly what it is. But like, see, the front end for me is good, but it's nothing like notable, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I'm really going to remember drinking this.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I would
In a
be
good way. I don't
because
mean like
it's
I'm
a
about to get
unique
hammered.
experience. You know, it's
Yeah.
something new and different, and it was experimental, and a collaboration, and
Potentially a gimmick.
that right potentially is it? I don't know.
And that's what we're talking about.
Right?
That's the topic
So yeah, I mean that's what makes it memorable to me is that it's something new.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's new, I don't know. I've got my score.
I got you, Chad.
All right.
So.
Thanks.
I need to work through mine a little bit more.
Sure. Do you want us to reveal our scoreage
Yeah, go ahead because
while you're
it's gonna
percolating?
yeah.
Okay. You want to go first, Sarah?
So, on this, I actually really like the nose. I think like it was kind of refreshing in comparison to what a lot of what we drink. So for that reason, I liked it. I liked the citrus notes. It smelled toasted and good. I was really excited about it when the first time I smelled it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 on the nose. I was swiftly convinced that it was not so good by the palate and the finish. So I gave the palate a 2.5 out of 5, and I gave the finish a 2 out of 5 because I'm really just not a fan of the finish. The palate's okay at points, but it's just not consistent, and it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
As far as price, I mean, for the proof and what other offerings you can get from Wild Turkey for different price points, more or less, and the proof and quality that come with those. I gave it a 2 out of 5 on the price because I just think that in the $40 range, $40 to $50 range, they've got a lot better for a lot less than for a couple dollars more.
I'll say it's certainly overpriced.
Definitely.
$40 is just kind of like, it kind of left me scratching my head.
Yeah.
Even before I tried it,
I think that's what added to a lot of people saying it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And they're getting the $40 for it because people want to try it.
Are they going to get very much repeat business? That's the question.
It's for somebody. So the question is it a gimmick or is this a bourbon for a different kind of bourbon drinker or whiskey drinker?
I would say it's certainly not for us.
I don't think it's for your more traditional taste.
Well, a lot of people. Hold on, let me bring my inner cynic to the forefront. Here we go. I think a lot of people are going to say this is Wild Turkey 81 with 4 more points of proof and run through some some mesquite charcoal.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
And what?
And an extra signature.
Triple the price?
Yeah.
Almost triple?
Yeah, almost triple.
Yeah. So, nose, I gave a 3, and I feel like I was being a little kind on that. I do like the nose, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just having an off night. I didn't feel like there was much to really get there. Palate, I gave a 2.5. Finish, I gave a 2.7. So, like I said, I think the finish is a little bit of the redeeming quality.
2.7?
So that's why I gave it just a 2.2 points higher.
We don't have a whole lot of anything that's not a 0.5 or a...
And then price, I gave a 2.5. So that's a 10.7. Now, I will say this. I think it benefits from repeat viewings. So my third, fourth step, I'm like, if I was to score it again, I would put plus 0.5 on the palate and plus 0.5 on the finish to give it an 11.7. Because we were drinking something that was remarkably different before this, and I think just that big shift was not favorable for this guy coming at it.
For sure.
I feel exactly the same as I did the other day about it. Like, there are times when I revisit it and I think, oh, that's a promising quality. No, it just quickly followed by.
Gone.
It just has this weird kind of roller coaster turning point
does.
Where I'm just like, oh, now it's dead to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I just can't. There are parts of it that I like, but they are so brief that it just is not overall.
There's nothing really, I think, about this where I want to go back to it. Like I will have it around, I think, kind of as a casual every now and then glass. But I don't think that, there's so many other things that I'm going to reach for before this.
This is not something I would ever crave. I would never come home from work and be like, oh, I've been thinking about having this.
It sounds great. The Wild Turkey Long Branch.
Which, I really hate because I love the Russells so much. I think they're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're such cool guys. But I will forever, for my entire life, be a 101 fan as long as they keep it the same as it is now.
Of course.
And I love, Rare Breed and lots of other things that they do. This is sadly not one of them.
Well, so I think we all. Well, let me come back to that in a second because I want to go ahead.
We want to hear your score.
I want to give my score before I
don't know if I said my overall score was a 10.5. I gave you all the numbers, but I don't think I gave you the total. So 10.5 for me, 10.7 for Chad.
Yeah.
Asterisk if he could go back. He would up it.
Whew, I breathed in the wrong way. So the nose for me was a 3.5. I kind of wanted, like, I was smelling this and I was thinking of Tanner in the way that he always says, oh, I would want this as a candle.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I know the looks you guys gave me, but I was leading into it.
We really needed the second half of that sentence to not be creeped out.
Yeah.
I think the nose is just really pleasant, but it's nothing. Again, it's nothing that is like super inviting or just really memorable. That being said, like the palate was kind of the same way, but I gave it a 3, where it's just really middle of the road. Nothing special, nothing jumps out at you. It almost tastes like and I've used this phrase to describe Basil Hayden before, bourbon flavored water, in that it has some of those characteristics, but it just tastes like it was meant to be something else. I don't know. Maybe I should give it a 2.5 after saying all of that. I'm gonna bump it down to a 2.5 because I'm just not. The more I talk about it, the less enthused I am by it. Finish is a 1.5 for me because that aftertaste is just no good.
It's funky.
It's just no good. I almost do kind of get like circus peanuts.
Yeah,
On the finish.
it's weird. Like as I'm just sitting here talking, I'm like, I have this taste in my mouth like I just ate something that I like. If you eat cotton candy or something, and then you just like go about your business,
Yeah.
you're like, what did I eat earlier?
It's
What is
almost
that?
It's almost like a stale flavor.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Wow, we are making this sound awful. It's drinkable.
It is very drinkable. Yeah, I agree, but it's just there's so many other things out there that are better than this for a smaller price, and for that reason, I gave the price a 2. It's just
Yeah.
it's just not a good price,
Right.
And I would definitely label this, I think, before we get into our conversation, a gimmick. I think that it is.
I think if you call this a gimmick, I think you have to call Basil Hayden a gimmick. I mean,
My total score was a 10 out of 20, by the way. I just
10. Okay, so yeah, we were all between
Less than 11, yeah.
0.7 of each. Well, you were 0.5 of each other. Yeah. Like I don't know. It's not for us.
No.
And I don't think it's for your avid bourbon drinker who likes to live around the 100 proof area. But it's for somebody, you know.
It is.
Basil Hayden's very popular. A lot of people buy that. They think it's super smooth. I think, like you, it's bourbon flavored water. So I don't know. Like, I think if anything would be a gimmick about this, it would be the fact that McConaughey developed it with Eddie Russell and wanted to refine it with the mesquite and all that. I just that's not necessary. If you want to put out a lower proof wild turkey that's not 81, that's, you know, a little older, was this 8 years? 8-year-old?
Yes.
Yeah.
8.
Is it?
It's not. I
It's
don't
not
believe it's
age
on
stated
the,
on the
bottle,
bottle, but I
but
think
if
that's
you
what
do some research, it's 8.
Yeah. Then just put out an 8-year-old, slightly higher proof wild turkey and just call it wild turkey.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can get on board with the fact with saying it's a gimmick because of the whole refinement thing. Like to me, I'm just like, okay, I get it. We're talking about walking the fine line between finishing and whatever else. But I don't think you can say the partnership aspect of it is the gimmick because then we're talking about calling every collaboration a gimmick. And I certainly don't feel that the Chef's Collab that Jefferson's puts out is a gimmick. I think that's some really great stuff.
Okay,
Correct.
so I think we need to back up for a second here.
Okay.
And define what a gimmick is.
Yeah, well, okay, just real quick.
Okay.
I was just going to say, and this is admittedly loose, but, you know, like Chef Edward Lee with the Jefferson's Chef's Collaboration, he's cooking a lot with bourbon. So at least he's more in the world than an actor is.
True.
Now, I could become an actor, and then people would say, "Oh, it's just a gimmick."
Someone say you already are an
Well,
actor, Chad.
thank you.
Well, he's
that Chad's making a bourbon. He's just some stupid actor. We're like, but I love bourbon. And so Matthew McConaughey might be in the same thing and
Yeah.
same boat. And I don't want to journalize. So that's a very, like I said, that was a weak argument. But I think it's I will agree with you on this, Sarah. I think it's more the not mellowing, refining.
Yeah.
The refinement of it.
Why don't they just use finished or filtered?
That's
they had to
gimmicky
create a whole new word.
than the McConaughey.
Yeah.
I think McConaughey's signature is on there just to sell bottles.
Right, I
agree.
agree.
Now, is that a sales gimmick?
I think it's some.
Because that's a gimmick, even though it's, sales gimmick.
I think it's giving it. It's a marketing ploy.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
marketing.
he's very mainstream and well known, and it's taking something that is bourbon, which is a community, and trying to, I think, get it outside of that. But that's where I.
But
fall on
more in more than just a spokesperson capacity.
Correct. Well, I mean, he
Yeah.
isn't just their spokesperson. He's their creative director, and he's been immersed for, I can only imagine, however many years. What's he been doing this for 2-3 years
2 or
that
3
they
years,
announced it?
which a lot of people will say, creative director. He's not actually that. He's just a spokesperson. Which some people will say that is a gimmick in itself. I believe he actually. I mean, we gotta trust Eddie, right? Eddie
Right.
has
I
told
trust
us
Eddie, yeah.
that it's more than just him, getting a check and putting his face on it.
But yeah. So, it's definitely for somebody, not for us.
But you were saying, let's define.
So
a
let's
gimmick.
define a gimmick, and I'm going straight to the dictionary.
Webster says.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is it?
An ingenious or novel device, scheme, or stratagem, especially one designed to attract attention or increase appeal.
Well, I mean, by that definition, then yes, putting his name on it is attracting appeal from an outside audience, but also, making Mila Kunis the spokesperson for Jim Beam is doing the same thing.
Right.
We're talking about
I said that the other day to you and Chad.
where do you draw that line? It's really hard to.
Right.
And if this tasted good, we wouldn't call it a gimmick. I don't think. I mean,
So that definition didn't necessarily seem like a gimmick could be a bad thing. I think when people hear the word gimmick, they automatically think negative.
negative connotation, yeah.
It's not real. It's just a gimmick. But that, it said like genius, right?
Ingenious.
Ingenious.
Yes.
Ingenious, yeah.
Which is
so,
negative, also negatively connotated.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's tough. Because if you make a one way or the other call about this, you're really deciding how you feel. You can't say it about this and then not say it about the next thing.
Sure.
So.
Well, I mean, we've expanded, our lineup of what we could, argue for being a gimmick or not a gimmick to a couple other bourbons as well. So let's move on to our second one. What do you guys want to do next?
What do you think?
I want to get something a little higher strength, so let's
Yeah?
do something that's a cast strength. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to bring out the Jefferson's Ocean. This is the Voyage 7, which I think, I can speak for Chad and myself. I know that we're, Jefferson supporters. We like a lot of the offerings that they put out, especially the Ocean and the, wine, the cask finished, the rum cask and all that. A lot of people that I've talked to or, ask about the Ocean, they either say that it's a marketing gimmick or they ask, is it a marketing gimmick? Because I can't decide if I want to spend the money on it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I can understand people questioning it until they taste it. And then I'm like, how can you question it after that? Because it is substantial. I mean, I enjoy it a lot.
And everybody's going to have their own opinions, too, on what they do and don't like.
I think a lot of people latch on to the sea salt air, the air, the sea air, the sea salt type of taste in it. They're like, that doesn't do anything. And I almost think that's more kind of romantically described in it. I don't think it's so literal.
I agree.
I mean, and they don't have exact science and data saying this is how the sea salt air affects the barrels that affects the bourbon inside.
Yeah.
It's just, it's in a different environment. There are multiple different factors in that environment that are causing the bourbon to be in a different temperature zone, causing the bourbon to, have a different atmosphere around it and touch more parts of the barrel. So who can really say which one of those things is causing it? But I think when you taste it, there's no denying that it does something.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that to me, the Jefferson's Ocean is more of an experiment.
Yeah, that's absolutely what the first voyage was.
Yeah.
He had no idea what was going to happen. And it was out there for like, 2.5, 3
That was
years.
the longest voyage. I think it was
and
like 2.
And it came back black. So now it just spends 6 months on the sea. After it's already aged to a proper age, 7-8 years here in Kentucky, then it goes out for 6 months. It's 35 to 40 ports, supposed to cross the equator 4 times. And the story is that crossing the equator, going through those temperature variations, it really caramelizes the sugar in the wood, the agitation of the motion of the ocean, if you will. Really knocks that around, and then the exposure to the different climates and the ocean air and the sea salt and all this. And I've heard Trey say this so many times, I can recite it, is what the Charleston Brownwater Society dubbed as a salted caramel popcorn bourbon.
And that is how
Interesting.
That is how they described it, and that's how he, when he talks about it, he also says, he cites that description. I mean, I think when you nose it, it smells like a salted caramel.
Yeah. I know.
It makes me drool a little bit.
It makes me drool as well.
And definitely Voyage 7 and 10 are the best in our opinion, because those are the two cast drinks. I think they're getting ready to come out with the 13th, which is the next cast drink.
I like the nose on this so far better than I do Voyage 10. I'll say that much.
I liked Voyage 10. We did a taste test, right, back to back with them. He liked the 7 a hair better, and I liked the 10 a hair better, but I like both of them, and I agree. We've tried the other Voyages. They're good as well, but I think the cast strength Voyages are where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still only 112 proof, for cast strength.
I get what you're saying, though.
But, yeah.
I mean, no, I don't know what I was going to say. Anyway.
I don't know. I think it does pretty well at the 112.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's got such a great, mouth coating.
Yeah. It's very oily, very viscous.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good compared to what we just had.
It makes me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was, if you heard me, and you did, as I was taking a drink of it.
If you heard me, and you
did. As I was taking a drink of it, more of the nose started to waft over me. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
This is really.
I mean, it's saltwater taffy in the finish.
Yeah.
It's a caramel bomb up in the front, in the palate. And it's got, for just 112, a nice little kick to it. It's got a nice little kick,
yeah.
Nice in the esophagus.
I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's such a unique and different, I don't know, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
I've never had anything like it before.
I know, right? And I haven't had anything else that comes close. So when people ask me, is it worth it? I always tell people, especially, I think, yes, it's definitely worth it to have something so unique. And if you're going to have, a dinner party or some kind of tasting or something, especially with people who are less familiar with it, it's such a fun story to tell about, they give you, you can get little cards that come around the neck that tell you, and they have it on their website too, about
the captain's log.
Yeah, the captain's log about where it went and what it went through and what this voyage was like. Sometimes there's hurricanes and things like that. I think it's a really cool, it's a storytelling bourbon, and I think that's why bourbon is so cool in general, is because it has such a history that it really just adds to it and makes it almost like a talking point or a centerpiece or something for a evening.
Sure, yeah.
For a lovely evening with bourbon.
And I think that the story, too, is kind of what separates this from potentially being a gimmick. Despite the fact that we're all sitting here going, oh, this is so good, as opposed to us going with a long branch, this is not as good as we wanted it to be. I think that objectively, this would be a less gimmicky
I don't think it's
story.
Yeah, I don't think it's a gimmick, because I think that it's part of the brand identity of Jefferson's.
Yeah.
Trey is known as the mad scientist of bourbon, right? So his job is literally to take what whiskey that other people have, or bourbon that other people have created, and blend it and then push it to the limits of what can you do with a bourbon and keep it as bourbon, and so he's always trying different stuff. He's aging bourbon in a Tabasco barrel. That's insane. Yeah. Is it a gimmick? Maybe, but who's ever done that before? He's just experimenting to see what kind of cool, crazy things he can do.
I think Jack Daniels is doing that right now too, actually.
Really? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So that, I think that brings up a good point, though. You're talking about how this is their brand identity. Is Matthew McConaughey going to be... Maybe this is more of a Matthew McConaughey discussion episode than it is gimmicks. But, is he going to be identified with the brand of Wild Turkey for years to come?
I think that's what they want.
I think for the masses, yes. I think for us, it's always going to be the Russells. Mm-hmm. You know,
For sure. I still think of Jimmy.
Jimmy finally steps down. It's going to be Eddie. When Eddie steps down, it's going to hopefully be his son.
Bruce.
He wants Bruce in there. So I think it's always going to be the Russells. For us, for everyone else that just sees the commercials, yeah, it might be McConaughey. I don't know. But, spokespeople come and go. I mean, you think of Jim Beam back in the day, it was Sean Connery.
I mean, think of other brands like beers, like Heineken has had how many? I can't even count.
Then it was Kid Rock for Jim Beam for a while.
Yikes.
Yeah, now that's,
Who was,
I think it was Hank Williams Jr. for a minute.
Oh, what's his name?
I don't know.
Can't help you. Give me some
Can you hum a few bars?
No. He was the actor from the Rosebud movie.
Oh, like Citizen Kane?
Citizen Kane. What was his name?
Orson Welles?
Orson Welles. He was a spokesperson for somebody at one point.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Only there were a way for us to look it up.
Google.
Right.
I mean, but at the end of the day, spokespeople do come and go.
Yeah.
I think the Russells have built a legacy with Wild Turkey, and I think it is hard for people who were familiar with it before McConaughey stepped in to kind of adopt that and accept it. But I think for the mainstream people that are just getting into bourbon, they're fine with it. It's just bringing attention to.
But has there been a bourbon brand so far that has done what Turkey has done with Matthew McConaughey? I mean, they've literally put his name on a bottle. I mean, Jim Beam doesn't have Mila Kunis's name on it.
No, they don't.
They have it on a barrel.
But nothing that says that she collaborated. You're saying like that level of a distillery with that level of a celebrity writing both of their names on the bottle and saying we collaborated on this. It's not been done. No,
I mean, Chef Edward Lee with Jefferson's, but he's nowhere near the celebrity.
Well, he's the celebrity in the food world.
Yeah.
But, that's...
But this is McConaughey
is like a, A-list celebrity or whatever you call him. And, to some level, yes. But like you said, he's got the credibility behind him, too, of being someone with a refined palate as a chef who can... So I don't think it's as crazy to say these two people who in the food and beverage industry got together to make something for the food and beverage industry,
It makes sense. And the story of that origin is very organic, They were eating spicy fried Korean chicken and drinking bourbon, and he said, "Hey, Ed, what pairs well with this spicy chicken?" And it's like, well...
Nothing, so we got to make it.
Damn it, let's figure it out. And then that set him off on a quest. Yeah. So that in itself, we could have said chefs. We could be drinking chefs collaboration right now and asking if that was a gimmick. And I don't think it is because of that story right there. Let's figure it out together. And it took them like a year.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time blending. They ended up going with like a higher rye. Or it is a rye.
It's a mix of
it's a whiskey. It's a married. They don't like to use blended. Yeah. It's a married whiskey.
And it's delicious. So
it is very good.
Yeah, it is tasty, especially the newest.
Yeah, the newest one's very good.
Collab. So yeah, I would say for the ocean, not a gimmick. But
Agreed.
What you were saying, Sarah, it's really interesting because you said because of the story. I think that's what makes a lot of people think it is a gimmick because it's a story and they're like, oh, that's fantasy. Right. That's make believe.
I mean, yeah, it's a great story. It just so happens to be true.
Wild Turkey Forgiven. They're like,
yes.
I don't believe anyone made that mistake. I don't believe they dumped rye on top of bourbon. That's just a gimmick.
That leads me to a question
we should have tried that one. I have a bottle.
There's still time.
We haven't said what our last one is.
We can shoehorn it in. I mean,
should
we may
do
as well.
2 wild turkeys in the same episode? I'm gonna leave that up to you, Bear.
Vote, dial to vote yes.
Call 1-800-MY-BOURBON.
Yeah, cast your votes now.
But that leads me to a question that I had earlier that I forgot about. I think that with the Long Branch specifically, we all agreed that this is like one miss in a heap of scores.
In an otherwise sterling
for sure.
portfolio.
So, is this one flaw forgivable with turkey?
I mean, I'm not going to stop drinking turkey because of Long Branch.
I wouldn't call it a flaw. I totally understand what they're going for. I think for the people who care the most, it is a miss, but it's not going to hurt them. And I think the rest of their portfolio stands with such integrity that it's no damage done, you know.
Yeah,
It'll sell or it won't, and they'll move on to the next thing. But as long as we keep those same, staple, amazing quality things in their lineup, we're good.
Here's a bit of a generalization. The non-regular whiskey drinker who will go out and buy this because it has McConaughey's name on it are going to love it because they want to love it. The same people who...
I know
there could
exactly
be other gimmicky
saying.
bourbons out there. The ones that you and I, maybe even all three of us, are like, ugh, that whiskey's kind of nasty. And everyone's else is like, it's my favorite. Oh, it's my absolute favorite. And you're like, I don't think you really like bourbon. It's the people who are like, oh, you went out and bought that. How do you like it? Oh, I love it. Oh, it's great. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
People losing their minds over it. It's the best thing ever.
So
they're going to love it because they want to love it.
Rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
It's almost, it's tough to be in a certain position in the bourbon world because there's two sides to the coin in that you want to be supportive and all inclusive. It doesn't matter. Everyone has their own taste and everyone's got something, and no judgment here. You like what you like. I like what I like. We're all good. But then on the other side of that, we're all kind of being a little bit of snobs. Oh, you like
a little
that?
hipstery.
A little.
Oh, you like Long Branch?
It gets a little hipstery. Well, when someone tells you three things that general consensus-wise are a thumbs down, they're like, oh, these are delicious. You just start to not trust their judgment at all.
Or we said this
with
the other
movies
day.
or something.
Yeah, we said this the other day with really, really out of the box store picks. People who pick the funkiest juice because, well, I've never tasted anything like this. I want this barrel. Well, you haven't tasted that because it's bad. Just because it's so different doesn't mean that it's good.
Would you say it's bad, or would you say it's just different? Because there's
it depends on who you are.
Somebody likes that weird, musty, grassy.
Oh, this is so funky. I love it. And we're like, this is funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, I think
Bad
it's
funky.
when people...
Okay. I've come around on my own comments. Sorry.
Perry, if you started to recommend, or if I asked you, what kind of movies are you into? And you told me 3 god-awful movies, I would be like, I no longer trust your judgment.
The Room, Green Lantern,
what a strange
and
mix.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
I would be like, who are you? What are you doing with your life? But, it's kind of the same for bourbon. It's you kind of get judged on your taste a little bit.
But on the same coin, if you're like, oh, Forrest Gump, that's a terrible movie, just because everyone loves it. Or, oh, Shawshank Redemption, that movie's dumb, just because everyone loves it.
Yeah.
A lot of people oh, you're a hipster.
Well, we love it because it's good.
Yeah.
So.
Also, I just opened the door for a lot of people to see, my side, my life outside of the podcast there for a second.
So that was a legit answer.
Those are 3 awful movies that I hate.
You didn't like The Room?
With Tommy Wiseau?
Oh, okay.
The Room.
I was thinking of just Room.
Not Room. Not Room with Brie Larson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
The
The Room yet,
The
but it's on the
Room
list.
Is
bad.
wonderfully bad, though.
Well, yes, it is, but it's still up there with the worst movie
Sure.
I've ever
Sure.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you tell me that those are your 3 favorite movies or the bourbons that correlate to those, I'm going to be like, ooh. I might smile and nod at you, but in my head I'm thinking, we can't be
Smile and nod.
friends.
And we're done.
Yeah. Well, how about
So.
this question real quick?
Okay. We got time.
Is the Pappy craze a gimmick? The craze over Pappy. I'm not saying Pappy in general. I'm saying
the Pappy
craze over it.
You guys, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is too. It definitely is because of the secondary prices for it. And we just went to a thing where we were out there in a parking lot for over 4 hours while they called out numbers to see if we could have the honor of buying a bottle.
I would really like to
We were knighted.
talk to someone, hint, hint, talk to someone who is in the bourbon history world about, can they point to a specific event that sparked the Pappy movement? And it is a movement, I think. It has created a monster, really. And, when you just try it, I guarantee you try it blind against some other things that are on the shelf, I'm not saying you won't like it. I'm not saying it's bad.
It's good.
I'm not saying it's not good bourbon, but is it worth it? And I think it's definitely not. I mean, not worth retail, yes. Worth what it's going for on the secondary, no.
No.
I mean, if it hadn't been for us being able to like stay out there at Liquor Barn the other day and have other samples and eat and listen to music and hang out with each other, I wouldn't have been out there that long because I don't care that much. I just want to go because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun to just be around other people in that world who care and are excited.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think that Pappy itself is a gimmick. I mean, that seems to be...
It's just risen in popularity on its own, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think to me it's just overhyped.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think hype and gimmick can be the same thing.
They didn't do any marketing ploy specifically.
Oh, they don't have to
outwardly.
market.
No, they don't have to do it.
To start this craze. They didn't do anything. So that's why I want to know, like, what point in time it wasn't before that, or it was before that heist. It was already big before that. So where did it start? Is what I want to know. Was it in a TV show or a movie that people just subliminally were like, I have to have it. This is synonymous with being well off and amazing, and all your friends will love you if you give it to them. Like, where did that start? So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it could be a gimmick that none of us recognized that we saw, or it just picked up, in which case it's not a gimmick because they're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's just customer craze.
Yeah.
What if it started organically, like we kind of get the feeling like Henry McKenna is right now? Like everyone loves it, but it's only $30.
Right.
So you love it more. You're like, this is such a great value, and it's 10 years, and it's bottled and bond, and it tastes great. And then that builds, and like, okay, now it's getting allocated. And now it's harder to find.
Don't say
and then
that.
give it another 5 years, and people are like, Henry McKenna, like, let's just say there is no Pappy in the world. Henry McKenna is the best bourbon, and, you know, especially if it had, like, a few more expressions, more age and stuff. Like, Henry McKenna is the best bourbon in the world because it's hard to find, and you're like, well, I do remember liking it a lot when I could get it on the shelf, and you're like, yeah, because it's the best, and then it could be a Pappy. Maybe that's how Pappy started, because you used to be able to get it on the shelf.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's weird that it seems that the Pappy movement started before the bourbon boom really got going? I mean, before it was really picking up steam.
Or did it kick off the bourbon boom?
Maybe it did.
Which came first?
I'm very intrigued by this
Pappy or the
timeline,
boom?
and I would like to know, chicken or the egg? Yeah.
Pappy or the boom?
I'm not sure I want to take that one back, but
But yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Anyway.
you could
Yeah.
say the same about Weller. Well, Weller, but I think that's.
Well, Weller's because
I think
of
it's
Pappy.
because of Pappy,
Yeah.
right? So it's
It's the
already like
same
tainted
mash bill.
by the craze of Pappy that people are just kind of working their way down the ladder of that whole
Now
vertical.
there's a $20 6-year-old Weller that you can't hardly get anymore because
Yeah.
of that.
yep.
So
That used to be able to get on the shelves 2 years ago.
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
So I think the last question we have before we kind of wrap this up is, where is the line? Like, where do we draw the line between what is and is not a gimmick? I don't know if if there is a definitive answer
I
for
don't think
this,
there is.
but like, I think that you know, I mean, I keep coming back to Long Branch because it's such a relevant example right now. But you know, I think that this is, I think without McConaughey's signature on it, less of a gimmick. So I think that in some ways, yeah, a celebrity endorsement is kind of a gimmick. That's not the definitive line. That's just part of, you know, my answer to that question. But what do you guys think?
I'm all of a sudden reminded of a comment that happened recently on our YouTube page. We were talking about that B4 drink and how we're trying to test it out to see if it's something that we can recommend or not. And someone commented on our video, instant thumbs down because of the free soda that you got.
Yeah.
And I questioned back. I was like, "What? You know, why? Why instantly down? Because it's free." And I'm like, "Oh, so you think because we got something for free, we automatically have to like it, and therefore it's not genuine?" Now I know it's different because McConaughey's getting paid, but it's kind of like we got something for free. So it's just like people get that way. They're like, "Oh, if you hire someone to do something, I don't trust them. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Other people completely buy
I think
it
that's
up.
even more so than getting it for free. You're getting paid to like it,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, to stand behind it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I don't know. You know, it's... What was the question?
Where do you
Where's
draw
the
the
line?
line?
Oh.
But before we get to that, I just remembered too that we
I
had
don't
something
know.
else on the table that we were going to try.
We do.
Yes.
and
In line
do you
with
want to
it.
stick with this?
we should...
Yeah, we may as
Yeah,
well.
let's do it.
change it up.
Well, this is also from Wild
This
Turkey.
is also from
Oh,
Wild Turkey.
snap, it is. Ah, crap.
So what do you think?
But the Russells didn't have anything to do with making it.
Show of hands.
It's
I'm just
your
kidding.
show.
Let's go Old Rippy.
Yeah? Let's
Yeah.
do it. All right, we're going to
Yeah.
do some Old Rippy. So as Chad said, this is from Wild Turkey. And this was a label that was supposedly dead
Oh, it's dead.
before Prohibition. Well,
Yeah.
they brought it back.
They brought it back.
It was-
Prohibition killed
killed it. Yeah, and they brought it back. And it's a,
104 proof?
pre-Prohibition, non-chill filtered. This is a 375, 104 proof. Batch number 1, rooted in tradition.
Yeah, so the...
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, the thing was, they didn't actually have, like,
Thank
a
you.
mash bill or any type of recipe to go from, so they went from tasting notes that were given at, I think, the World's Fair,
Chicago, I think it was,
where it won some awards.
Interesting.
So they just had to make stuff and make little changes and things until they're like, yes, this tastes like what this person was describing back in the 20s or whenever it was.
So it says it's a tribute to the style and consistency of the original Old Rippy bourbon with a complex delivery of oak, toffee, and spice.
Now there
and
was...
bananas.
And this is from the Whiskey Barons collection.
Yeah, which they're doing 2 more this year. They did 2 last year, and these are sold in 375s for $50.
Which is pretty steep.
It's quite steep. Now, I will say, if this was intended to be a gimmick, it didn't take. Because people are not buying this up like you think they would.
Right,
I still
we saw
see
some
this
on the shelf. Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, not like, every single store that I go into.
No,
Yeah.
but it's not as hard to find as they made it to you believe in the beginning that this was once and you weren't going to be able to see it again, and it's so limited, and it's from this collection. They brought it back, and that's it. And we've seen it sitting around some places. So
Yeah.
clearly, I mean, the $50 price point is just so rough for a 375. Also, the nose is not great.
I'm not getting a lot, but what I am getting, it's just not very good. I'm mostly getting like ethanol on
I'm
it.
getting a lot more spice than I did on the Long Branch. Like
Yeah.
the Long Branch, I just wasn't able to get much of a nose at all. At least I can smell this guy. Now, it's not the best, but at least I can smell it.
There's something floral in there too.
That's what I was going to say. It smells like a little bit of cinnamon and maybe some flowers.
Yeah.
We've said it before, but we have like
I think
very similar
I think
palates
so.
and noses.
Noses.
Nope.
Except mine's just a little bit better, but that's okay.
No, it is.
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
No, you get that spice, kind of like that clove spice, on the palate, I feel
On the
like.
palate? Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't gotten there yet.
I wouldn't really call it cinnamon. I think it's more of a clove, personally.
I said banana like up front, and I still kind of get like a banana bread taste on it.
There is that tinge of, is banana a fruit?
Yes.
Yeah, that fruit. That fruit.
What would it be if it weren't a fruit, Chad?
Close your eyes and
A
think of the
vegetable?
food pyramid.
The food premiere.
Pyramid.
Food premiere.
Yeah. Actually,
It's
it
a
has
bunch of food dressed up in tuxedos.
Yeah, exactly. It has a surprising amount of heat for just 104 proof.
It really does. Wait, that's what we said, 104, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a surprisingly more amount than the 112 proof Ocean.
The finish is really long.
It's more clovey, you're right.
And
On the
spicy.
palate. Mm-hmm. It is spicier than I anticipated.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've had this. I'll say I like
Dances
the
around.
I like the palate better than the nose.
I do too.
Yeah.
I was iffy about the nose.
I actually think I like the finish the best out of all three of them.
It's a nice little linger, right?
It is. It sticks around for a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's another question, just to add to our myriad of questions. Whether we absolutely hate this or absolutely love this, would that make a difference in whether we call it a gimmick or not?
So I think you have to make some rules about what qualifies as a gimmick and if that is a deciding factor or if that is something that you set aside.
Yeah, because if it's like absolutely setting our world on fire, it's so great. But bringing back a defunct brand, a defunct label, and saying this is kind of what we think it used to taste like, is that in itself, whether it's a good or bad product, in itself, just unavoidably a gimmick?
So I think it goes back to kind of what you had said earlier about it depends on whether we're going by the definition that you read of what is a gimmick or by what people perceive as a gimmick. And I think a lot of people perceive a gimmick, well, we perceive it to be negative anyway, something that someone's pushing towards us that's not legitimate, but they're using it to get us to buy something that maybe we wouldn't otherwise buy. However, whether we like it or not, I mean, if I can like something and it can still be a gimmick. I mean, you know, Snuggies were a gimmick, but people liked them.
But damn, those things are comfortable.
They were comfy, you know. So it's like
perception is everything.
Yeah, it's perception.
Yeah.
I think it becomes perception based.
And our perception is so different too from the perception of the people that decided that this needed to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, somebody walked into a room and said, we need to do something new.
How are we going to sell more bottles?
How are we gonna make more money?
And that's where all of it comes from.
Yeah.
How can we make more money? How can we sell more bottles?
Yeah.
What can we put out there that people want to buy?
And that can potentially be a gimmick too.
Weller, 8-year-old, decided by the fans. Craft your own bourbon.
Is that a gimmick?
We actually just talked about this on.
I think it's a brilliant gimmick, but it's a gimmick.
I think
it is too.
I agree. It's a very, very smart gimmick. But they've had people invested.
Sorry.
They've had people invested in this for several years now. People who went on the site who
people
did it.
Didn't even know it was coming.
They didn't know that it was going to be a bourbon, so they invested, a small amount of their day into doing this test and seeing what they got. And now they're a part. You almost feel a part of it. I mean, I did it. I want it.
I did it several times
because it was fun. So
never got a Weller though.
I didn't either.
I want it.
I usually got Elmer T. Lee.
I got Pappy.
Oh, jeez. You were trying for Pappy.
I wasn't. I legitimately was not.
I went and tried for Pappy one time. I'm like, I'm going to see if I can get Pappy. I think I still got Elmer T. Lee. I'm like, okay. Apparently I still want Pappy.
So you screwed up on the mash bill then?
No.
Because you select your mash bill at the beginning of it.
Yeah. That can't be right. No, I definitely went weeded.
Maybe it just wasn't an option.
I think it went...
He got
it.
Oh.
Maybe I got like Weller. I think I kept getting Weller 12. I'm like, man, I put it at 23 years. What do you think that's going to be closest to? Weller 12?
Well, it's still available on
it's still out there
on the website too.
Yeah.
Will and the Grease have tried it out since it was announced.
But Jeremy Schell brought up a really interesting point that they don't have to disclose that information. They say they have all this data, and they do, but they don't have to disclose it. So they could have literally just been like, what do we have a lot of? And, okay, well, we had all these people do this thing, so no one can say that this isn't what won, and this is how we can sell these barrels that don't necessarily fit into the other flavor profiles that we're looking for. I would love to pretend that we live in a world where that would never happen and people would be honest. That's what I'm going to continue to believe, although I think he makes a really good point that I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but it's very cautious, and it's.
Well, think about this too. What other options could have come out of that? I mean, would we have gotten a Stag Craft Your Perfect bourbon? Could we have gotten just
an Ancient Age,
Craft Your Perfect bourbon?
So do you
like
think
an 8-year-old Ancient Age? I would love that.
The mash bill that came out of it was Weller, and then
Weller. It was weeded.
So they must, and they can't give us anything above that, right?
It was weeded from the center of the warehouse, I believe is what they said, and averaged to be 8 years. So
again,
what is that going to be?
What a coincidence that it comes from one of their lowest, on the rung. Like you said, it wasn't a Stag, it wasn't an Elmer T. Lee,
Wasn't
what
even
a coincidence
an Eagle Rare.
That it wasn't even just their Buffalo Trace.
Right. It's a more achievable. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but as much as I'm going
I
to sit
don't
here and
know.
be skeptical about it, I got to try it.
When
But
you say, yeah, everyone chose a weeded mash bills because they were trying to get Pappy. Perry. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
well, but still,
man?
that could skew the
I
results.
just got attacked.
Yeah.
Kidding. Obviously, they're not going to put out a new, here's a, Rip Van Winkle 8-year.
Craft your perfect bourbon.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say, too.
Yeah, so
it's
it's
like
gotta
they
be
couldn't
lower.
have called it a Van Winkle
Right.
because nobody would have had it.
Right.
The people who would have bought it would have hoarded it
Yeah.
or sold it on secondary for
Yeah.
$800 a
And
bottle.
it's still going to get sold on secondary.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Because
Is it-
Weller is the new Pappy.
Right.
just hurts.
It hurts.
Actually think someone would strangle someone for a bottle of Weller 12.
They make you slap your mama.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's as good as people go crazy for it. But, I mean, I do think it's a very smart gimmick in that they roped people into it before people even knew what was going on.
Yeah,
Because anyone who did it is a little bit invested in it because they tried it.
for sure.
I also think it's strange, though, if the results are true, they must be really skewed because you tried it multiple times. I know other people who have tried it like 5 times trying to get what they wanted, and it records all those results. So I'm like, does it just take one, or what happens?
I could never get anything less than a number 4 char. Could you?
No. I think they might just use a number 4 char at Buffalo Trace. Don't know that for sure. Just saying anecdotally.
Well, they should have just said, we use a number 4 char.
Yeah.
So
Instead
you
of like,
can't
hey,
get anything else.
because they were like, hey, hit this button
Yeah,
and...
I'm like, and stop.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, and
like,
fire your barrel,
55
yeah.
seconds, no matter what, alligator char.
Yeah,
Gosh, it's been so
exactly.
long since I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Where do you want to put it in the warehouse? I want to put it outside the warehouse. I couldn't do that. I want to put it on the roof. Couldn't do that.
I wanted to be carried around the country by
I want
Clydesdale.
to put a cheat code in so I can put it wherever I want.
Oh, speaking of Clydesdale, that reminds me.
Gimmick.
Okay, there we
I-
go.
Yeah.
Gimmick.
It's a crazy partnership
Okay.
between two people who can sell whatever they want.
To clarify what we're talking about, the Jim Beam and Budweiser partnership where
Gimmick.
Budweiser's going to be aging beer in Jim Beam barrels.
So we also talked
I
about
agree,
this
though.
on Steve's recent show.
Oh,
To
yeah,
solve
that's
the problem.
right.
It's all good.
Sorry, Steve.
It's all good. Hey, it just means he has good, timely topics, right?
does, yeah.
And it kind of, it really does tie into what we're talking about. I mean, you know, it's more beneficial. We decided as a group, it's definitely more beneficial for Budweiser than it is for Jim Beam because you might convert Budweiser fans to Jim Beam, but you're not going to convert Jim Beam or whiskey fans to Budweiser.
We had that conversation the other day, too, didn't we?
I mean, I'll try it once. I'm not going to buy it repeatedly unless it's somehow delicious, which it could be. But I'm just not. I will drink a beer, but I'm not that big of a beer drinker to where it's going to drive their numbers or anything. And I think most people who spend their money on whiskey have a certain number of craft beers that they'll go after, but I don't think
Yeah.
a Budweiser aged craft beer is going to be the one that they go after.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the biggest beer brand and the biggest bourbon brand.
Yeah.
It does make sense if they
Combining
were
forces.
Sure, if they were going to partner with anybody, these are the two I would put together. And if Jim Beam doesn't do it now with Budweiser, someone will do it down the road with Budweiser or Coors or Miller with all the craft. And they got to give their barrels away anyways.
Yep.
So they might as well give them to somebody with the brand recognition that Budweiser has. I mean, it's pretty much America's beer, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's known as
mean,
like
for
the
a while-
blue-collar, working man's beer.
Yeah, and for a while, they literally had America on their can.
Right. They're...
They took the name Budweiser off and replaced it with...
America.
Which is, I think, a
America.
little bit of an insult to America. But, I mean, Americans, we
Well,
can
it
do
depends
better.
on how you feel about Budweiser, but yeah.
I think that
Hey,
people
it's
would
the
say
king of
it's
burrs.
a simpler beer. And I don't think, with the craft bourbon or the craft beer movement, I think that's proven that a lot of America has more taste than previously thought.
Yeah.
So, it's not just a light beer world out there.
Correct.
It's a light beer world.
So did we weigh in on our thoughts of this old Rippy real quick?
Like
I
if it's a
think
gimmick
it's a
or not?
gimmick because they aren't working off of a recipe that they found and decided we want to bring this back because
Yeah.
it's part of our history and pride and blah, blah, blah. They were like, we found these tasting notes, and we thought if we could make a thing that would match them.
And
we can
put
slap
limited
this,
edition on the bottle.
We'll put limited edition on the bottle. We'll slap this old pre-prohibition name on it, and we'll put it back out there, and people will eat it up because it's pre-prohibition, and no one can tell us that it tastes different than the original bottle because no one has the original
Especially
bottle.
this particular one that we chose that has the word "rip" in the title.
Right. Oh, I wonder why they picked this one.
Yeah, it was this one and
Bond and Lillard.
Bond and Lillard. Thank you.
But that's what you go towards, right? When you read Old Rip, you're like, oh, it's got to be associated with the Van Winkle line.
It's not.
No,
by the way.
No.
I will say,
Not even a little bit.
Everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
I had lower expectations for it because I believed it was
expectations.
because I did think it was very gimmicky.
Sorry, that one got me.
In Living Color.
So, I mean, I thought right off the bat it seemed really gimmicky, but I think it tastes better than I anticipated.
It does.
But it's still not worth $50 for a $3.75.
No, it's
I don't
not.
think. But the bottle is super cute.
It does.
I love the design label.
It does.
Label design.
You're
Whatever.
not even listening anymore, are
It's
you?
not.
I'm done talking.
Well, I think that is about all we can say on it without diving into like what's our least and most favorite gimmick bourbons.
Right. I would also say it's a gimmick.
Yeah. So we're gonna actually review something like the actual review of the episode is about to start.
Surprise.
Hey, and it's not gonna be a gimmick bourbon. It's just gonna be a bourbon.
Unless you're one of those cynics that thinks anything is
All
sourced
gimmick.
as a gimmick.
all gimmick or all bourbons are gimmicks.
Yeah, anything
All
that's not made by the actual. All whiskey
All
is
bourbons
gimmicks,
are
but not
gimmicks.
all bourbon.
But not all gimmicks are bourbons.
There you go. Yeah, I was trying to say it, but couldn't. So this is Boone County Distilling
tell us
Company.
about it, Chad.
It's 1833. It's a straight bourbon whiskey. And this particular one started out its journey as a 10-year label, but as their stocks kept aging, they decided to update the label to reflect the actual age, which is now 12 years.
Hooray.
So if you see a 10-year age-stated Boone County 1833, you might want to pick it up because it's not going to be out there anymore.
What'd you say the proof was on this 108?
90.8.
Isn't that crazy? We should have waited to tell him until after he tried it.
What do you think it is?
Well, it's too late now. You
I
ruined
might
it.
have been lying.
I would say it's in the 90.3 to the 90.9 range.
Wrong. It's 90.8. Idiot. So obviously 90.8.
Nose is fine.
What?
That's
I think it's a caramely.
yeah.
It's
And,
very
and that's about it though.
Toasty.
Yeah.
toasty caramely. It smells like it would be very
Ooh, it smells like toasted marshmallows.
very viscous, you know?
I think it smells just like burnt marshmallows. And I didn't get this
Okay.
when we tried it last.
Now I'm Is that Uncorking coming out this week?
Yeah.
Next week.
Friday.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So when's this coming out?
Next week.
Okay.
I was going to say,
So
who
it's out.
will win?
Go watch.
Oh, it's out now. Yeah.
Go watch our uncorking of Boone County 1833.
To see initial.
Yeah, if you wanna see
feelings on
more.
this.
If you want to see us in video form.
You want to look at our faces. Perry won't be there, but
I will not.
in
be.
spirit,
You
he's
are
always
correct.
there.
I'm sure you mentioned me.
I could put up a picture of him in the lower corner or something.
It's just me going.
Just
Yeah.
Photoshop him in.
And I just did a visual gag for an audio medium.
Yeah,
but
how'd
it's
that-
me with like a
how'd
big
that work?
smile and my thumbs up.
He's doing the Fonzie.
Hey.
Yeah.
I just pop up like every time you say my name, just me going hey, and then it cuts back to you.
You remember? You might not, but did you play Mortal Kombat?
A little bit.
Okay. When you were Scorpion and he did the finishing move where he took off his mask and he breathed fire and he flamed, he burnt the guy. This little guy would pop up from the corner and he'd go, Toasty! I just want you to do that, but you to say, Perry! Just every so often. In our
You
episodes.
can make that happen.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, I know.
can like animate your mouth like South Park style with how the Canadians talk on South Park.
Yeah.
Or just your head.
Yeah. That'd be great, actually. I'm okay with that.
All right, cool.
So I didn't say this in our review, but I think the more I talk about this and taste it, the more, and just a precursor, I love burnt marshmallows, like just blackened marshmallows. I think they're delicious. That is exactly what this tastes like to me.
Yeah.
You do get some some charred.
I was gonna say,
But there's
charred.
it's like
Charred
charred on
something in
the
there.
outside, sweet and gooey on the inside.
Yeah.
It's a s'more.
It's the only reason I like going camping or being outdoors at night near a fire. I'm like, can we get some marshmallows so I can burn them? And then I'll just eat that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It definitely has a very oily mouthfeel to it.
He can't say mouthfeel
I like the way you've been
without...
saying mouthfeel
He
recently.
can't say it another way
I
anymore.
feel like I'm Dr. Evil when I say it. Laser.
Oh, R.I.P. Vern Troyer.
I know. Isn't that
Yeah.
sad?
That's
What?
sad.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
died the other day.
Mimi died
What?
yesterday.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Not yesterday for you listening. This is like last
Wow.
week.
Yesterday for us in this present time.
Way to put a damper on my evening.
Sorry.
Now I have to watch all the Austin Powers movies again.
Drink more bourbon.
And The Surreal Life.
Where he pees off his Segway.
Yeah. Don't
Or his
spit it
little
out.
motor
Don't
scooter.
spit it out.
Back to bourbon.
Back to bourbon.
There's
That's the clip they'll play
Yeah.
in memory. I'm
the
sorry.
Oscars.
I didn't mean to be.
Oh, come on.
I didn't mean for it to be that funny. But what a way to be remembered. It's getting me how funny you think it is.
There's got to be some movie that he did with a somewhat dramatic they could take a clip from. Probably not.
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. If that were the case, I would just lose it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
If something ever happens to me, you guys, I don't want it to be sad. I want this reaction. Like, all the times that I was the funniest. I want
Remember
you to
when
use
Sara
those
peed off her
moments.
Segway?
Remember that?
Oh, and Barry's down. He's spewing things out of his nose right now. Oh, and he just peed himself. Oh, man.
It's over.
He's laughing so
That
hard.
Halloween
thanks,
episode
guys.
where I'm completely hammered, that's what I want played.
Oh, that would definitely be.
Yes.
To make my mom, something to make my mom proud.
drunk.
Absolutely. Go on, Perry, you're drunk.
Is that what I say? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I'm drunk.
I think at one point you did go, I'm drunk.
Oh, we need to have another fun one like that. People seem to enjoy it, I think.
True. That was a good
I
one.
don't think you enjoyed it very much, but I did. I had a great time. All right, we'll stop talking about that now.
Okay. I'm good now.
Back on topic.
I want to.
Oh, are we scoring this? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Hey, if you're old enough to drink bourbon, you're old enough to hear that.
You're old enough to hear swears.
What
And
if
if you're
they're
in
just
this
like,
car with your kids,
when I'm
I'm sorry.
21, I'm going to know everything about bourbon, but I'm not going to drink it till then. And they're like listening to this at 12. I don't know.
Well, they could be in the car with their parents.
Yeah.
And the parents could be listening to it, and for that, I'm sorry, parents.
I'll throw in a. Do you want me to throw in a little? Hey, parents! Here's a heads up. If you're listening to this with your kids,
In
there's
2
an
minutes,
S word
this
headed your
girl
way.
A 4-letter word.
She talks about foliage.
It's not the worst one, but
What do you think is the worst swear word?
Oh, we can't say that on your podcast. It's for a completely different podcast.
I really like the F word.
But is that the worst one though?
No, I said I really like
The
it.
worst 4-letter word is diva. I don't like the word diva.
I don't like the C
Not
word.
where
I don't
I
like,
like the C word.
I don't
either.
like people who
It makes me cringe.
want-
It makes me cringe
who
too.
call themselves divas. Like, get over it. I'm a diva.
such a diva.
Yeah. Oh, go away.
Shut up.
Go away.
Diva.
Yeah, no, I don't like it.
You're a diva.
And dongle. Don't like the word dongle. Someone actually said it today in normal conversation, and I was upset.
Anyway, I don't like the C word.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
Wow, we do have
Oh,
similar tastes.
I know. We need to talk about price. Price for
yeah.
this guy was $49.99.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
And Chad
right
and I
now.
split it.
Chad and I split it. Wait,
Oh, that's sweet.
Perry and I split it. Yes. Mm-hmm. This is the scoring portion.
Where we're all very quiet.
Well,
I'm gonna try
I forgot I was supposed to be doing this. So
You know what? This is one of the more. We would, I think, at this point, consider 90.8 to be pretty low.
I would.
Right?
Okay. Yes, on paper, yes.
On paper.
But when I tasted this, for the first time, I didn't know what it was, and I wouldn't have guessed 90.8. I
wouldn't
would have
either.
guessed higher. I would have guessed around the 100 to maybe even 110.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so I think I wish that we hadn't told you that before you tasted it because I feel like it's unfair.
Well, I'll say though, it's making me enjoy it more and appreciate it more.
It's really nice.
Normally, something that's 90 proof is like lackluster.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if only they hadn't cut it down to just 90 proof.
But at 90 proof, I think this is really flavorful. And it makes me wonder what it would be like at 100, at a cask.
Exactly what she said earlier.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Daggone it, Sarah.
Yeah.
Get out of my head.
Get out
devil.
of my head.
You're the two best friends that
anybody
anybody
could
could have.
Yeah. You all get each other's jokes, but I think we're more on the same page when it comes to tasting,
Tasting
which is where it really counts.
and thoughts and thinking
Yeah.
That's where it really
and actions.
hit them where it counts.
All right, I've got mine already. Let me go.
Well, you may as well go ahead.
All right. So this is Boone County, 12-year. I gave the nose a 3.5. I thought it was very solid. I think, especially considering the three other things that we've had, I think this one gave off a good nose. Palate, I also gave a 3.5. Very solid. Loved those toasted, darker notes. And like I said in our review, we wish we had the 10-year age stated to compare it because I feel like, and this is completely anecdotal, but I feel like this one has more of the leather and the charred barrel notes with it being 2 years older.
Yeah.
Finish, it's nice and long. It lasts a super amount of time considering it's only a 90.8.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was very solid. And then price, $50 for this guy that packs such a punch and is delicious. I give it a 3.5. So 14 overall.
Yeah. I want to say, like, this, it's nice to have something that I've liked for a review because, like, I feel like the past few that I've reviewed, I've been kind of like, I've either been or been like, this is awful. Because last episode we reviewed the Woodford cherry smoked malted barley,
Oh, no.
and I gave it a total of 2 out of 20.
Wow!
2 out of 20.
I've heard.
Yes.
I had someone recently tell me that it was delicious. It's one of their favorites. They couldn't wait to get another bottle. I was like,
That's what I was talking about earlier.
yeah, that's the movie thing when I was talking about, like, I no
Yeah.
longer trust your judgment, and the next time you tell me something's good, I'm not going to go get it because I will be very skeptical.
That's when you say, I don't think you actually like bourbon.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that was gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
It's really not good.
My nose notes for that one was that it smelled like carpet.
Like
And
any
then
variety of carpet, wet, trampled on, otherwise.
Was it
Pet
Persian
smelling.
carpet?
Yeah.
Persian carpet? Okay, cool.
Which I don't, but like old, musty.
Sure. Smoker's apartment. I don't know.
I said this on the show. It smells like grandma's carpet.
Grandma's
Your
carpet.
poor grandma.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage.
Grandma's chicken salad.
Ugh.
That was from Friends. When Joey could say
Moving on.
anything and make it sexy.
Oh, that's
Grandma's
right. That's right.
chicken salad.
That's nasty.
All right.
All right, moving on.
All right, Sarah, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'd like to go next. So for the nose, again, I really like burnt marshmallows, so I really enjoyed the nose. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I gave the palate a 4 out of 5. I really like this stuff, and I think it is surprising for the proof how much flavor it packs. Are we about to give the same score?
I wanna see-
I know
I wanna
we're not
find out.
because I did this because I was torn, and also because I couldn't let Chad be the only one. So on the finish, I gave it a 3.8 out of 5 instead of.
Oh, okay. We're very close to
Okay.
having the same
Because
score.
I couldn't let him be the only one to give a weird score and throw everyone off. So 3.8 out of 5 on the finish. And the price, I gave a 4 out of 5 because I think for a 12-year that's this delicious, that tastes and feels higher proof than it actually is, $50 is a good deal
not bad.
compared to other things that are more expensive. So I really enjoyed it. So overall, it was a 15.3 out of 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
Like
nice.
I said, we have very similar scores. The nose for me was a 3.5. It was just so warm and inviting, and I mean, I felt like I could like get a candle made out of it, and it would just be,
I felt like I could really talk to it and open up.
Just let my hair
be
down.
friend-
Just
I'd be
be
friends
me.
with it.
Just be me.
Palate was a 4. Which it just says so much that it's a 90.8 proof that I'm scoring it that high. It was just so warm and flavorful, and I mean, I enjoyed it so much. The finish was a 4 for me as well, in that it does kind of keep changing and kind of exploding and becoming this whole different animal after the initial palate. And then the price was a 3.5 for me. You know, there are other things that are better at this price point, but I think that where it is really superb. And I would buy another bottle.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, my 3.5 on the price was just because there's things at $30 that are so solid that, you know,
I think it's at $20.
for $50.
It's true.
That's why I put it at 3.5.
It's I see your point,
Yeah.
but it's so yummy,
But I maybe should have gone a little
and
higher
it's 12 years.
on the
Yeah.
palate or the
Yeah,
or the
and you know,
finish.
yeah, $20 or $20, $50 for a 12-year-old bourbon. That's not bad.
I mean, that's why I think
It's not. I'm and I don't want to get into it again, but I'm still torn.
Go
Like,
to YouTube.
should the fact that it's a 12-year factor into the price? Because whether it's objectively good or not. So I always try to take age out of my price recommendation. Either it's good or it's not.
Okay, but do you know a bourbon that's aged for less than 4 years that costs more than this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not even close. I'm not saying that exactly 12 years is what makes it worth it. It's not like a benchmark of saying, you know, I think the flavor is what makes it worth it. But knowing that this has an appropriate amount of age to it, I don't care what the number ends up being, as long as it tastes good, versus something that's aged for way less and is not an appropriate amount of age, that it costs the same or more.
It's well
and
aged.
it's not as flavorful. I mean, I think this is a good price point.
Okay, so
I'd like it to be cheaper, but I'd like everything to be cheaper. So.
well, yeah,
Sure.
of course. So to use a really specific example, Blanton's is younger. Blanton's is a 6-year bourbon.
Yeah.
It's also $10 more expensive. So say you have $60 to spend at the liquor store, and you have the option between the two. What would you go for?
I think a lot of people would say Blanton's because of the clout it has with the Buffalo Trace name behind it, and I support that, and I like Blanton's. But if I'm going to save $10 and I'm going to get this, I think I'm going with this. I mean, right now, today, that's what I'm going to do.
If I can't get a Rock Hill Farms at 100 proof for the same price, yeah, I'd probably go with the 1833.
I think I have to agree.
Nothing against Blanton's. It's,
Oh, no.
It's
It's solid.
substantial,
Not at
yeah.
all.
But, I mean,
It doesn't pack the personality, I feel like, is this.
and I'm
I
always
don't
looking to
think so
save
either.
$10, so if I can get
Sure,
this.
yeah, sure.
You know? So that's where I
So
land on
yeah,
that.
go buy a bottle of the
Yeah, give it a
Boone
shot.
County 1833.
Yep.
12-year. Sick. I dig it. All right. So that's our review for the episode. Oh, my total score was a 15 out of 20, by the way.
There you go.
I don't
Nice.
think
So
it
we're all in
actually
the
said
same 14
Yeah.
to 15.5 range.
that. So that wraps up
15.3.
our
Yeah.
that wraps up our review for the episode. So now you guys know what it's time for.
Oh, tips.
it's time for
and
tips and bits.
Prepared again.
It has to be new things or just I always ask this. Does it have to be new or does it have to be something I'm just into
Just
recently?
something you're into recently.
I never watched The Office all the way through, so I've been watching that.
Oh yeah.
Yes, per a friendly recommendation. Yeah, so that's fun, enjoying, you know. I feel like once you get really into that show, you start looking at your workplace differently, like, who is the Kevin,
Yes.
you know? You
Yep.
so that's cool.
Who's Angela?
I feel like I think I can figure that out. I really need to get a good book or something, because I feel like every time I talk about TV, which is cool, but I want to go see A Quiet Place badly, but
Yeah,
I
me
haven't
too.
been able to. Speaking of The Office,
Oh
Jim.
yeah. More
Yeah.
John Krasinski.
yep.
Who's Jim?
Who's Jim?
Tell me his name.
So
It's Jim. His name is Jim.
Oh, okay, it's Jim.
that is what I've been doing and what I want to go see.
Yeah.
Haven't really seen any
Infinity
movies
War
in-
comes out this week.
Yes, we're going to go see that.
Friday.
Well, by the time this comes out, we will have just seen this.
Yeah.
So
How was it?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet
No, we can't say.
at this
We'll
time.
find out. Chad.
I'm going to recommend something that I want to see instead of, something that I've seen out of context.
Okay.
And that's a show called Final Space, which I've been hearing really good reviews on, and I've seen it's animated. It's on TBS.
Oh, with Olin Rogers.
It's got Conan O'Brien is one of the makers, and he is one of the voices, I feel like, too. And there's like a really good cast. Fred Armisen is one of the voices. And I've been seeing like lots of good reviews, and I watched one episode later. I didn't see the first episode. It was on, and I started watching it. I'm like, oh, this is my kind of comedy. Mm-hmm. So I want to go back and watch it from the beginning. So I'm going to do that. And I feel like I would recommend it anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and recommend it. I don't care. Final Space. Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, great.
That's all I got.
So recently I've been watching a few of What Culture's videos on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Especially like, their nerdy stuff. Like, the top 10 reasons why Batman's awesome. Or,
right.
Stuff like that. They're a great YouTube channel. I really enjoy their stuff. It's Bourbon Night.
Sweet. Yeah, I recommend that too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Especially when they leave reviews of your podcast on
iTunes.
I was like, that's got to be followed up with something.
Jeez. I'm trying to think what else. That's about it.
Every time we do this, I'm like, I should have thought of this more before, but I never do. And then you always ask, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing?
I keep a running list, but I've forgotten to update it recently, and that was about the only thing that I had on there. But that's all right. So, guys, thank you all for being here for this week's episode.
Thanks for having us on.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Where can people find you on social media if they would like to do that?
YouTube.com/It's Bourbon Night. That's the most important place. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is It's Bourbon Night.
Yep, It's Bourbon Night. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon.com/It's Bourbon Night. Amazon.com/shop/It's Bourbon Night. We have a little, sort of our favorite things area where you can sort of buy, whatever, if you want to.
The glasses we were drinking out of tonight.
Yeah.
Actually.
The world is
your
oyster.
Tribecas.
Yeah, Tribecas, yeah.
What about you, Perry? Where can people find you? They already found you if they're listening to this.
Yeah, and thank you for listening. I just want to say, before I get into social media, again, you guys have been awesome recently. We've just had some incredible response from a few listeners. And just kind of overall, I hate to be a numbers guy, but our numbers have been really great recently. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been consistently listening, or if you've told somebody to listen to the show or whatever, you're the reason we do this.
Oh, gosh.
And we love bourbon.
He's going to cry.
If I ever cry on an episode...
Quick, catch his tears in this.
There's a single tear rolling down his chin.
It has a nose of salt water and despair.
Give that tear a 2 out of 5.
Just tastes like despair.
If you want to find me personally on social media, I am at PureRitter1492. If you want to reach the show and the shop on Instagram or Twitter, we are at My Bourbon Shop. On Facebook, we are This Is My Bourbon Shop. You can find our Threadless store on Threadless, of course, which I just have already said. It's bourbonshop.threadless.com. Become a patron of the show.
Did you say It's Bourbon Shop? I think you said It's Bourbon Shop.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Bourbon. No, I said...
My Bourbon Shop?
No, it's bourbonshop.threadless.com. But really? What I was saying was that...
Oh, it is... Bourbonshop.threadless.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I was confused.
I also was confused.
All right. Yeah. Gotcha. Because It's Bourbon Night, so...
Yeah, no, I understand. You want to be a patron of the show, head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. You can support us. And give us a rate and review on iTunes, like somebody sitting in this room did. And he baited me into trying and going and seeing what he wrote, and it was very sweet.
In my defense, I didn't realize your name was attached to the reviews. So.
C-Perk, whatever.
Yeah.
Wow, you all have an interesting dynamic between you.
We do. It's very
Yeah,
strange.
It's very strange. I'll accept it for now.
For now.
So, yeah.
You all have the same nose.
I think mine's a little smaller.
True.
I do have a big
No
nose.
offense.
No. I have a big
Well, I
nose.
just
It
have
runs in the
a
family.
lady-sized nose.
I have a big nose and big ears. They both run in the family.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
If your nose is running, you should catch it.
Oh!
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
And on that, I'm going to say thank you all for listening.
Wow.
Yeah. That wraps it up for us. We will see you next week. Curtis and Tanner are going to be back on. I don't know what we're going to talk about. If you have suggestions for topics, write into the show. This is it's just, what is it? This is my bourbonshop@gmail.com. Yeah, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Sarah, for being on the show.
Thanks, Perry.
We lost Chad. Anyway, see you guys next week. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is my Bourbon Podcast. You good? Yeah. You sure?
Yeah.